Hello, and welcome to another episode of Get Your Fill, Financial Independence and Long Life, where we explore ways to achieve those two goals. And it's so great when we have fun people like Bill Bloom on. Bill Bloom is who you want to be, okay? He's a husband and father, family first. That's his motto. And he has created this retire as you desire lifestyle, which is like, right? I mean, it's just such a dream. And it helps you earn back your freedom so you can live a purposeful and passion-filled life, right? And I think about that because people think retirement, it's like, I imagine like sitting on the golf course or just like, I don't know, watching like Zoom, binge watching things, right? I think people don't understand what, especially when you want to retire early, what
Mhm.
that really means. So he creates customized investments and retirement plans so that you can truly live how you desire. So Bill, tell us, like, was this always your thing? Were you just like right out of the womb, like, oh yeah, this is what I'm going to do. I'm not doing the 9 to 5 angle.
Basically, yes. I mean, I'm unemployable, I like to say. Um,
That's the definition of a great entrepreneur.
yeah, I'm definitely unemployable from that standpoint. But even as a kid, I loved to hustle and I loved to work. If I wanted baseball cards because I wanted to get that special Jordan card, I would work at the concession stand. I worked 2 jobs in high school. I worked 2 jobs in college to pay for my lifestyle because my parents just didn't have the money to actually give me my car insurance and the gas money. I had to work for everything, even from a young age, because there was always financial tension in our household. Like my mom isn't with us anymore. She was just an incredible human being. Like my parents were super loving, but they could never figure out how to make a dollar work for them. So I always saw that tension. I always noticed details. The little things is just part of my unique ability and who I am. I see little details. And I noticed it from a child standpoint. I was like, I never want to live that way. I knew it. I just didn't know how I was going to get there. And
Yeah.
that's been a big passion of mine, is to help people get out of those huge financial issues. And it's just been a big calling for me in my life.
Amazing. Yeah, and I think a lot of people can relate to that feeling of just like, we can't afford that, honey, and we don't have enough. And like, what do we? I mean, my dad worked seasonally, right? He was a bricklayer, so he was like,
Wow.
we had to, we might have 4 or 5 months where nobody in the house was working because he didn't want my mom to work, of course. That would mean he was a failure as a father. I'm like, dude, you're not working like 5 months out of the year. Really wouldn't be a bad thing, but no, my whole childhood, she was a stay-at-home mom, and she just made it work, but it was the same kind of thing. Like, the car can just go a little longer, and, like everything is just going to have to be like on a shoestring. So how did you do that though? I mean, how did you step away from that? Cause what would you say is the number one reason for that?
For me to step away from not living in that lifestyle is
No,
just
the
that
number one
pain.
reason why people are in that lifestyle.
Ah, I don't think they dream big enough. Um, I don't think people give themselves permission to dream big. I think that they keep really small-minded people around them because it keeps them comfortable. And these are compounding issues in everyone's life. I tell people all the time, it's okay to fire friends. It's okay to get rid of people. It's okay to fire family. Like, people don't want to hear that, but you don't have to keep negative people around you. And if they're holding you down or holding you back or discouraging you, fire them. Just like if they were a bad employee, you
Yeah.
fire them. Like, why keep people around you? You don't need that. We don't have infinite time on this world. And if it's really that bad energy, get rid of them.
Yeah.
And I don't think people know how to set goals.
Yeah.
Truly, I don't think they know how to. I've always been motivated by goals. So you have to reward yourself. It could be the smallest little thing, but like taking an afternoon off and doing something you've always wanted to do. Um, my family and I live in Chicago, and if I want to take an afternoon off and go downtown or go to the city or do something like that, I can, because it's all rewards based. And that's motivational. That keeps you going. That keeps the lights on, right? That keeps you pushing past those times where you really don't want to do too much. We all have it. So I don't think people set goals. I think people don't surround themselves with the right people, and they don't invest in themselves as much as they should, because that's the best investment you can make, is truly in yourself.
Yeah. Let's go back to goals for a second, because I think I think people maybe set goals, but they set crazy ones, right? Ones that don't, goals that maybe don't serve them all that well, right? I've heard people, oh, I want to make $5 million. Okay, that's really great. And how are you gonna, you know what I mean? Like, where, okay,
For what?
and you know,
For what?
just
Right.
like,
Why? What's your
yeah,
why behind it?
yeah. What's the why, and how are you gonna do that? And are there any interim steps perhaps where you could have that reward?
Mhm. I've done that a million times and I've always failed at them. I've done that too. I mean, I'm guilty of it too. I said, by
Sure.
the time I'm 30, I want to make $1 million, and it didn't happen. It just, I didn't put a plan together for it.
Right. Exactly. And because we're not taught, right, how to make good goals.
True, and it's very hard. And I think when people don't reach a goal by a certain time frame, they get discouraged and they said, you know what, I don't want to feel this pain anymore. But that pain means progress. People don't realize that that pain is going to be one of the best things you feel in your life, because that needs to push you further. And you know what the reality is of whomever set that goal for whatever time that is, you're in charge of it. Just change your deadline. Change it a quarter out, change it a year out, change it 5 years out, and keep
Yep.
working towards it. Don't quit.
Yeah.
You're in control of your time frame, not someone else. So if you want to
Absolutely.
start your side business or you want to actually start your own business, go out and do it and be reasonable with your time. It's not going to happen quickly. It takes time. Don't try and do too much yourself. You need to have people around you to help you, because you're probably only good at 2 to 3 things. And crappy at a lot of other things. So get all those crappy things off your plate and focus on those 2 to 3 unique abilities. That's what I've done in my career, and it's worked really, really well for me. I'm still figuring them out, but it's really freed me up to do things that I love doing, and it gives me energy.
Yeah. And that's so powerful because all our lives, right, we're told to work on our weaknesses. You've got to, you're weak here, go work on that. And it's demoralizing and it's
Mhm.
horrible. And, in the meantime, your strengths are just like, sitting there atrophying, right?
So true.
So Bill, how did you figure all this out?
I joined Strategic Coach when I was 28. That was So I'll give you the story. I
Okay.
worked at Prudential right out of college. I became a financial advisor because I wanted to figure out how money could work for me and my family, but also for other people. Because I love working with people. I love helping people. That's one of my biggest strengths, is being there for other people, being a
Great.
helper.
Mhm.
I've always been like that. And that's part of my family too. It's just in my DNA. And when I was 28, I left Prudential. I started my own company. I created Bloom Financial. This was before the retire as you desire lifestyle. This was just me struggling. I was totally on the struggle bus, trying to do way too much stuff myself. I made $24,000 net my first year as an entrepreneur, business owner. It was super difficult, but I had a great year. And then January 2nd, I met my wife. So that was like a huge catalyst for me. It really got my priorities straight. They were
Yeah.
pretty straight. I mean, I was not out of line. I wasn't all over the place, but it helped me focus on something, because I knew I was in trouble when I met her. I knew, like, oh boy, I'm in trouble. So I got to get my stuff together for sure. But that same year that I made $24,000 is the year that I invested, I think it was like $7,000 or $8,000 in Strategic Coach. And that was the best investment that I ever made from an investing in myself standpoint.
Yeah.
Still in the program. Dan Sullivan, the man himself, is my coach, and a bunch of other hugely successful entrepreneurs. I mean, I'm sitting next to Gino Wickman, who's done EOS and sold his company at the last meeting. Chris Voss, who's the head FBI negotiator, who wrote Never Split the Difference. He was on my podcast. He's in the room with me. You just have these like incredible human beings that you have to invest in yourself to get into these levels.
Yeah.
And boy, has my life changed because of it. So that was a big game changer for me.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's the 5 people you spend the most time with, right? And if they're
True.
energy vampires and they're going to talk about, oh, let's go down a rabbit hole talking about the economy and how much is gas and blah, 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 right? Nope. You want to talk about people like, this is how I grew my business. This is how I 10x my life, whatever. Those are the kind of people you want to be having conversations with.
Absolutely. Because all of us have great abilities. I mean, I see your book behind you, Empower Your Inner Millionaire. I mean, we all have the strengths and abilities to go out and do incredible things in this world. As long as you have your mind, your body, you have these thinking capabilities. We all have it.
Right.
It's just going back to giving yourself permission to be that person who you are always meant to be. And once I've done that, and once I did that in my life, huge things changed. Huge things changed. And that's been truly one of the biggest blessings for my life, because I've had super tough times. We all go through them. Like my mom just passed away a year and a half ago. She was sick with
Sorry.
cancer for 3 years. I mean, it was
Oof.
such a tough time. And even
Yeah.
when we were kids, I didn't know if we were going to have a roof over our head. I mean, multiple times. It just
Yeah.
wasn't like one time they were late on the mortgage. It was a pretty habitual thing. So you have to take that pain and figure out a way to turn that into progress, because a lot's going to come out of that that you never knew was possible.
Absolutely. It's so true. You plant the seeds and you don't even realize that they're
Yeah.
growing there in the backyard. And if you just keep looking at the dusty front yard, it's never going to
Yes.
realize, right? I don't know. So when you met, so you met your wife, was she instrumental? I mean, I know she was a great motivator, but was she instrumental in kind of like getting you to a point where you're like, okay, I can't spend 45 hours a day on my business, right? What am I going to do now?
Wow. You know, when I had met her, I had a pretty good philosophy on time. I really did, because strategic coach taught me that.
Yeah.
And I was very purposeful about taking free days. That's where you take 24-hour blocks and you don't work. You don't check your work email. And my wife's from Argentina, and she came from a family where her dad was the head ER surgeon in a hospital in Buenos Aires. And
Wow.
she comes from her own environment of working 60, 70 hours a week. And now she has her own super successful career.
Yeah.
I taught her actually how to slow down and take a free day. And you need to take care of yourself and learn about health, because stress kills. Like over time, if you're always stressed, that's no way to live. I
Yeah.
mean, that compounds. And there's a ton of studies that I've read that show that causes external factors and internal factors that are
Absolutely.
terrible, including cancer and heart disease and stroke. And can't live like that. So
Yeah.
I think I've been a huge factor for her to slow down. And she's taught me that there's really great ways to do things and really be intentional, because she's very intentional. So
Yeah.
it's been a great balance throughout the years, that's for sure.
Excellent. How long's it been?
Since 2015.
Oh, congratulations. It's
Thank
fun.
you. Thank you. And it's fun. I mean, we have 2 kids now. We have a great home. We live in a
Wow.
great neighborhood. Like, we're living the American dream, I would say. Like,
Yeah.
we have a lot of freedom of time. We love what we do. Our kids are incredible. Do we have problems? Of course. Of
Yeah.
course. There's always going to be problems, but we handle them a lot better because we're calmer and we're more confident in our abilities. So
Yeah.
that's been a big game changer too.
Absolutely. And going back to what you said about taking, 24 hours off, it allows you to to come down so that when something does happen, you're not like right on the precipice of exploding, like, I can't believe you spilled that milk. Oh my God, like
Right. Because those things happen.
yeah, yeah,
They happen.
exactly. But also, don't you find that when you have that downtime, I mean, I know whenever I'm on vacation, I get these fantastic ideas, right? Because I've allowed my brain just to work on its efficient self instead of trying to make it right, do something.
Oh, yeah. Again, it comes down to who you surround yourself with, but giving yourself that space and freedom to actually think. If you're going every single day, you're going to the office or you have to be somewhere, you're not going to give yourself space to think. Like, I get some of my best ideas when I go for my morning runs, when we're on vacation, really when I'm on airplanes. That's really when I have great ideas, because you're just there, you're thinking. I don't buy the internet because I don't want to be on my phone.
Yeah.
And I would really encourage everyone who's listening to your incredible audience to spend 24 hours without your phone. Like, just turn your internet off. Don't touch anything unless you need direction somewhere. Like, give yourself a break. We don't give ourselves time to just decompress, and our phone's part of it.
Oh
It's really
gosh, yeah,
part of it.
absolutely.
Um,
Absolutely. Like who
I
doesn't have their phone within reach, right? Every single minute of the day, even when they're
uh,
sleeping.
yep, absolutely. That's part of an issue too. In the next 5 to 10 years, I think it's already here. I just don't think it's quantified yet by our scientists and all that stuff.
But yeah, well, that was a big issue when I first started, spending time with my boyfriend is that my phone only makes noise if someone's calling me, but his makes noise every time he gets an email. So it'd be late at night, or, we might be asleep, and the stupid phone's going. I said, you gotta get rid of that thing.
Exactly. Turn it off.
Yeah, absolutely. I have quiet time, like it shuts itself off at a certain time and it just won't come back on until 7 a.m. no matter what. So
That's a beautiful thing.
it is a beautiful thing. But yeah, I mean, you see that, like I see that a lot with my nephew because he's, always playing games and things like that. And he just like, well, what are we going to do? Like, things that used to be fun for him aren't fun anymore because it's not fast paced enough. Right. And I think that's just such a sad thing that's happening to us. I
Yeah.
mean, I don't think it's limited to 15-year-olds.
No, I mean, our son who's 3, he has his quiet time when we're having dinner, like to have his games. Like he'll play games on his iPad and just kind of calm down, and he's thinking and using his brain, but that's his time to just slow down a little bit and entertain himself. And even with our 4-month-old, I mean, we don't have a chance to have dinner at the same time most nights because the food's out. Okay, I want to be fussy now. Uh, but but yeah, you need that time to just calm down, enjoy your life, and just decompress. And some of my best ideas have come from, again, I said running, but when I've been in strategic coach, like being around these super incredible high level thinking entrepreneurs, and just being around Dan Sullivan is such a blessing. That's where I've come up with super, super incredible ideas. Like Diane Money is one of them. That's my new financial app that I've been working on.
Cool.
That's really going to be using artificial intelligence, smart thinking computers to take the guesswork and the stress work out of your financial life. So you
Wow.
set up your goals, and it's going to figure out the most efficient way for you to reach them based on your income and how much money you have coming in and your other priorities like your rent or your mortgage and your bills. But we're going to analyze all of that just through the smart thinking computers so that you don't have to guess anymore. How long will it take me to pay off my student loans, or how quickly could I? It's really geared towards going back to setting those goals.
Mm.
Like, what if you want to go to Paris? Like, you have that incredible map behind you. What if you want to go to Argentina, like where my wife's from? If you
Yeah.
need anything or any trip recommendations, let me know. Reach out to me. Happy to help.
Oh,
Beautiful
great.
place to visit. But set goals and set big ones and let your money work for you instead of you always having to work for it.
Yeah.
Whether you're a 9-to-5er, an entrepreneur, or you want to become an entrepreneur, if you can get your mindset around letting assets work for you, game over. I mean, your life will change forever. And that's what
Yeah.
Diane Money is going to be for our users. And it's named after my mom, actually. So,
Oh,
uh,
nice. That's awesome. But it's true because I've seen people, it's very easy when you have a lot of bills and you just feel like, oh, all my money's gone before I even see
yep.
it, that it's very, very difficult to envision a time when you aren't going to be underwater. And so when it's like that, right? Oh, what's the difference if I spend, $60 on these pants? It doesn't matter. It's not going to, I'm always going to be broke, it doesn't make any difference. Right. But I think, an app like the one you're talking about, where people could maybe even see, okay, hey, if I do, give up this crazy spending habits for a few years, this is what could happen. And it just can give you some hope.
Absolutely. Hope is always going to be there. I mean, there's totally an abundance of hope. It's just figuring out what can help you in the most efficient manner. And that's what's missing in the financial world. I've been in it since 2008, of all years to start my career. Um, but I've seen it time and time again. People don't understand how to make money work for them.
Yeah.
I had over $54,000 of student loan debt when I got out of school. Thank God I played soccer, paid for my other half of school, but I had to figure out the hard way how to pay them off. And all my loans were 5, 6, 7, 8%. So those are the things that I'm incorporating in the app with our team to focus in on how to do things the most efficient way for
Yeah.
our users, because we're not educated on how to do that. That's never going to be taught to us. That's
Yeah.
all on us. So why not have a really fun and cool financial app that we already use on our phone? We do most of our banking and financial transactions on our phones anyways now.
Yep.
Why not let an app do that work for you?
Yeah, that's really fun and powerful. So what do people just put input? How would it work? Like if I wanted to get set up on that, how would that start to work?
So basically, you set up your goals first. That's first and foremost. I would love to know, Diane Money wants to know what's important to you,
Hmm.
because one person might have student loan debt, one person might have credit card debt, one person might have a ton of debt, all the above, and a
Right,
car
right.
and rent. And
Yeah.
they don't know how to do things in the most efficient way possible to get out of that debt. Other people who are using it are, they want to have that $5 million in retirement. So they need to reverse engineer that.
Yeah.
We're going to say, okay, here's how much you could be putting away every month to reach that goal. And it shows you, there's a box in there that shows you how many months it's going to take for you to get there.
So
So
when
it's
this
super
gets
visual.
when it's like 12,000 months, you're like, okay, right, gotta reel that in a little bit. I'm gonna have to save a little more.
Right. Or you
Live a
need to
little
make a
longer, maybe.
change. You need to take that risk and go out and become an entrepreneur. I mean,
Right,
everything's risky, whether you do it or you don't.
right,
It's all risky.
exactly.
It's all risky. I would rather, like Jim Rohn says this the best, like God bless him. He was an incredible human being. He said it's all risky. He said, I would not like to see the bill after not taking the risk at the end of life. Like when, you're dependent on the government and you can't choose where you want to live or choose the kind of care you get. I would rather be able to have choices in my life rather than not. So it's all risky.
Absolutely.
It just depends which one you choose.
Absolutely. It's so funny. I'm definitely a FOMO kind of person, like some people are like, oh, aren't you afraid of doing that? I'm like, oh my God, I'm so much more afraid of not doing it. I'm so much more afraid of missing out and never like living my whole life and never knowing, you know, hey, could I have done this? And what if I would have taken that chance? And
Mm.
yeah, I'm very grateful to be like that because I know it's a little unusual.
It is. It definitely is. It's not for everyone,
Yeah.
but you're right. It's part of your evolution
Yeah.
and you're always going to be evolving
Yep.
because of that. So
Exactly.
that's another great encouragement for everyone listening. Try it, go for it. Start small. Don't bet the house on it.
Right.
But when you
Right.
take that action, the people around you, you're going to start to level up, get higher quality people around you. That's that compounding effect that will change your life.
Yeah. Well, and coaching, and let's just talk a little bit about what do you think your life might have been like if you hadn't found strategic coaching or some type of coaching that, could, you know,
Oh, it would still be abundant because I definitely have that mindset and it would be full of ideas. I just wouldn't have the tools around me to figure out how to make them work.
yeah,
Um, just reading the book Who Not How by Dan Sullivan, Ben Hardy, that was super freeing because it gave me permission to realize I don't have to do anything besides a couple things that I'm really good at.
yeah.
And imagine in your life how free you could be. Forget money, just from like a time perspective.
Yes.
Like I just went and had lunch with my wife. We walked for an hour with our newborn. It's because I have that time.
Yeah, exactly.
There's set times, you work certain times, and then you're able to be present with your family or the people who you love or the people who you want to be around. Now, want to be around, right? It's always a
Yeah,
choice. Don't
that's for
forget that.
sure.
And my life has changed inevitably because of that.
Yeah. And I think that's something that when people are starting out, I mean, you shared you had only made $24,000. A lot of people would have said, well, as soon as I'm making 100,000, then I can afford coaching, right? I can't afford coaching when I'm making $24,000 a year.
Yeah.
But
Got to
well,
do
I
it.
mean, how did you know to make that decision? Because it's so common. People's like, oh, I can't afford a coach, like,
I think you can't afford not to. You just change your priorities. Like what
yeah,
could you not spend money on that you don't need? Like that $60 pair of pants or that sweater or shoes that you don't need, probably because you have enough clothes already.
right.
Um, Stuff we don't need.
Yeah,
I just knew deep down inside I wanted to have a bigger and better future for myself and for my future family. Like I didn't even know my wife at that point.
yeah,
But again, it's all risky. Is it a risk to spend $8,000 on something? Sure. But I looked at that as an investment in myself. And if it didn't work, then there's other opportunities. The one thing that I would really steer people away from is like a $59 guru or expert or $100 expert. Like all that stuff is nonsense. Quick fixes don't work. They're
yeah,
not there.
yeah.
Um, that stuff is just, stay away from that. That's my 2 cents.
Well, and I
Because
think because how could they possibly provide you great value? I mean, it might be a starting point, maybe a teaser to get you to think a different way, but long term, you need, especially if you're not in a place where you already have a lot of money, right?
exactly. It's about setting up your own foundation.
Yeah.
They're not going to help you set up a foundation. Strategic Coach helped me set up a foundation. They
Yeah.
definitely did. And I mean, in the first session, you do this thing called your lifetime extender, where the coach takes you through, how long do you think you're going to live? And you could put 100, or you could put 80, because that's when my parents passed away. There was one guy in there who said, I'm going to live till I'm 58. And he was
Oh,
56.
oh
Well,
my
it's
God.
because his brother, his dad, his other brother had died all around these time frames.
Oh gosh.
And he changed his thinking to live to 120 just by one exercise. So
Excellent.
imagine being 56 and now thinking you're going to live till you're 120. You just gave yourself
A whole
60
nother
plus
lifetime, right?
years, a whole nother lifetime
Yeah.
to accomplish what you want. You
Wow.
don't need to do it in 1 year. You don't need to do it in 5 years. If you truly give yourself a 25-year time frame, take it one quarter at a time,
Yeah.
90 days at a time, break it down, reverse engineer that goal for you,
Yeah.
you're going to have so much less stress in your life
Yeah.
because you're not rushing. You're just not rushing anymore. And that's a skill that once you learn that, that's a catapulting activity right there. Just to slow down, thinking 90-day sprints and allow yourself to do what you need to do to get there.
Yeah, it's true. And that is a big problem, I think, for people, is that short-term thinking, like, oh, I'm never gonna, like, I can never do this because I can't do it in the next year, right? It's impossible because I can't see how I can do it this afternoon.
Right.
But yeah, it's a gift, and it is a skill definitely worth cultivating, that long-term planning, breaking things up into manageable chunks so that you can
Right. But you said something there that was very important. I can't get it done. I can't do it. You're probably not the person to do it. And you're thinking incorrectly,
Right.
thinking about who should be doing this, not how is it going to get done.
Yeah.
That's about having the right people. You don't even need to hire them. You could outsource that. You could find your who's and hire another company to do the work for you. They don't need to be your employees. I mean,
Right. Right. True.
some of the fastest growing companies, they don't have a lot of employees. They have a lot of outsourced work. I mean, look at Airbnb, look at Uber, you look at all these huge platform companies that
Exactly.
have changed our world. Look at Facebook, they have a ton of employees, but
Now they
at
do, but
first,
yeah.
think about that. You don't
Yeah.
need to do everything yourself and get rid of that mindset and think about who should be doing the work. That can help out immensely.
It's so true. Oh man, absolutely. So Bill, what do you think is the biggest uh, shift that you've made between that guy who was making 24,000 and the guy that I see before me today?
Well, I had a lot more hair back then,
Do
but
you think that's the secret? People should be like shaving their heads?
yeah, it
'Cause
saves
I
some
actually had
time.
more hair too when I was poor. Now that you
Hey,
say
look at
that.
that. No kidding. Um,
Mm.
I think part of that stress about me doing too many things was part of that. The biggest transformation. I think my biggest transformation has really been just my love for my family and the love for what I do.
Yeah.
If I don't love something or if I'm not all in on it, I will not do it. I've become really good at saying no. No is a sentence, by the way. You don't need to give people excuses anymore.
Yeah.
And on top of that, I stopped doing things for other people's approval. That was, holy cow, shedding a million layers.
Yeah.
I always thought that I needed to have my Rolexes and stuff and a Mercedes and all this fancy stuff and nice suits. Don't get me wrong, that stuff's great. But I thought I had to do it for other people. And once I really got rid of that belief, that freed me up. That
Yeah.
took a lot of pressure off of me. And I felt it. I always felt it. I thought I had to look a certain way, dress a certain way. And I don't care about that anymore. And
Yeah.
my life is always forever changed because of it. Because now that energy that I was spending there is now spent with my family and on
Yeah.
my businesses. So the energy is going to the right places.
Yeah. Well, and that's also, I think, part of imposter syndrome, right? When you feel like, oh, people are going to realize that I'm poor and, I'm going to I've got to do this thing because otherwise they're not going to think I belong here with them and they're
Yeah.
all more successful than me, right? I think that this having to wear this costume goes along with
So
that
true.
feeling,
So true, Christine. I mean, the truth is they're not thinking about you.
right? They're thinking about themselves.
They really don't care.
Exactly.
There's very few people who really care about you. So it doesn't matter anyways. And that's a hard truth to learn.
Yeah.
People think, hey, I need to be the most important person in the room. It's all garbage. It's all nonsense.
Yeah.
Most people don't care. They won't think about you when you're gone or when you leave the room. They may talk badly about you, but that's a whole other story. And that doesn't matter anyways,
Yeah.
because the only thing that cares about is your own opinion of yourself. That's what
Exactly.
matters.
Yeah. And I think confidence really ties into that. If you can develop that self-confidence, which just comes from succeeding, right? I heard somebody said that, it might have been Brian Tracy, like, how do you develop self-confidence? You make a goal and you achieve it. You make a goal and you achieve it. And the more you do that, the more you start to say, hey, look, I can do stuff, I have some talents. I'm not so bad after all, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And start those goals small.
Yeah.
Start them small. Go for a walk around the block once a week, and then do twice a week, and then go for a run that third week. But go 4 blocks. Start small and
Yeah.
build your way up, because that's how you get that confidence. It's just not, hey, I'm going to set this $5 million goal. It might take you 12 years to get there. Like, are you going to build confidence over that time?
Yeah, exactly.
Go small, go small, go small. Take those baby steps. Those add up to getting to the top of the ladder.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, Bill, I mean, our time is just like flying by here. What kinds of things do you want to talk about that we haven't started to touch on yet?
I think living the retire as you desire lifestyle is
Yeah.
about retiring the things you don't like to do in your life. I want to make that very clear. That could be mowing the lawn, doing your dishes, doing the laundry. We live in such an abundant country that there are people who love to do the things you hate. And that's what I teach my clients in my Bloom financial practice. Is you don't have to do everything yourself. It goes back to that who, not how concept, but you don't have to stop working. If you love what you do, don't stop. Because once you stop doing the things that you love, bad things happen. Your health changes. There's really 4 phases in retirement. And that's where the first part is where you go through this like really gleeful, joyful, I could wake up whenever I want phase, and it doesn't last forever. And
Right.
phase number 2 and 3 is when you go into small depression, or you go into this your lost identity.
Yeah.
And then that leads into the next phase is like a lot of stress. You're lost. And there's a lot of divorce, a lot of depression, death as well, the 3 Ds, as they say. I didn't create that, so I can't take credit. But if you get through those phases, you come out on the other side to say, you know what? I've really found out who I want to be at this phase in my life.
Yeah.
And if you love working, don't stop. Like, why? If that gives you your purpose in life, don't stop.
Yeah.
You don't have to go golfing. If you hate golf, don't do it. If you hate gardening, hire someone. You don't have to
Right.
do it. Don't force yourself to do the things you hate doing. That's my big advice from a retirement planning standpoint.
Yeah.
Create it around the things that you love to do. And then most of the time, things take care of themselves.
Yeah. And Bill, when you first start working with people, do you find that they have a little bit of difficulty with that?
Everyone does.
Yeah. Interesting.
Everyone has difficulty with the unknown. They just don't know
Yeah.
whether, okay, is it going to be 5,000 this month? Is it 8,000 this month? Like, what's the parameter?
Yeah.
And I try and take all those hurdles off the course to make the path smooth for you. That's really my goal. There's so many questions. People, I've learned, need to hear things multiple times to finally understand that, because it's so complex
Yeah.
between Medicare, Social Security. Will your Social Security become taxable? Is my Medicare taxable? Like, how do we plan to get around this? Or what should we do? And it's just things that I've learned since 2008 to really build a business around. And
Yeah.
that's a time thing in and of itself, but it's just part of my unique ability and how I think to
Yeah.
plan in the future for people. And I see it all the time. People, when they first come to me, they say, you know what, we're kind of lost. We know we want to retire at this age or this age. And I say to them, well, do you love working? Yeah, I love it. Well, why are you going to stop? What are you going to do? Well, I don't know. Well, why don't you go part-time? Or why don't you continue to work? And why don't you call it quits on your own terms, not by when the government says you have to be 65, because that's not a thing.
Yeah,
That's just not a
exactly.
thing. You're in control of your time and your own destiny.
Yeah,
So enjoy it.
absolutely. Yeah. And I think that is, I, do you feel like people think that they're not successful if they're still like, oh, people will think that that I have to work because I'm 75 and I'm still, working or whatever, still doing my thing.
It could be something for sure. I mean, that could be part of the problem. But then again, they probably don't care too much about you in the first place. They're probably not spending a lot of time thinking about you in the first place. So who cares,
Let it
really?
go. Let it go.
Yeah. By that time, if you're in your 70s and if you're worrying about that stuff, that's a whole nother ball game, right? That's
Yeah. It's so funny. Things that you think people would outgrow that they just don't always.
yep. Yep. A lot of my people, they don't care about that stuff. They just really want to focus on the things that are important to them. And I extract that out of them because I
Right.
ask a lot of questions and take things super slow, super slow to get the process done
Yeah.
very, very well, very thoroughly, and to the point, because it's all about them. It's not about
Yeah.
me. It's not about anyone else. It's about them. And
Yeah.
that's just how I run my practice. That's how I run my life. That's how Diane Money will be, because it's all about the user's goals. See
Yep.
the recurring theme there? Other
Yep.
people.
Yeah.
Um, because when you make it about them, I just, that's what gives me joy and pleasure, is to make things happen for other people.
Awesome. Awesome. So what kind of questions do you ask people when you first start working with them that helps them to kind of get out of their own head and start to really imagine what their life could be like?
The first question is always, what does money mean to you? And I shut up.
Oh,
I just stop talking. And then they talk for a half an hour, and I'm just like, I'm taking my mental notes or writing down my notes, because I listen. I listen to those little details.
yeah.
And then it just continues on that conversation. Well, what about retirement? Do you love your work? And then they'll talk longer and then say, you know what? No, I can't stand my boss. I have to get out of there.
Yeah.
And I'll say, if work was not an issue, what would you love to do with your time? What gives you the most joy and passion? And that's when people light up and they're like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, I want to do this. I want to travel here, my grandkids or my kids or
Yeah.
XYZ. I want to start this new project. I have
Yeah.
one of my really good friends and clients. He does radio broadcasting with his dad on this Polish station. It's just like the
Oh,
things that light them up.
yeah.
That's what I want to know, because that's what the plan is created around, is to have
Right.
their money work for them,
Yeah.
so that they can still do those things and not have to really worry about where their next paycheck is coming from in retirement. And
Yeah. Exactly.
that's so much fun. So those are the big ones. It's just, what
Yeah.
does money mean to you? Stop talking, let them talk. And then usually about a half an hour later, it's just the questions continue.
Isn't that funny? So when you
Yep.
said that, like, what does money mean to you? The first thing that popped into my head is freedom.
Yes.
It's like, it's a tool, right? And we just can use it to do what, to liberate ourselves. Like you say, hire somebody to mow the lawn, hire somebody to do all those things you can't stand doing,
Yeah,
and just
exactly.
sit back and say, what do I love? What lights me up? Do you think, I mean, it seems like that's the kind of thing that people would just know, right? If you said, oh, what really makes you happy? But do you find sometimes people are a little bit, it takes a little digging to get to that point with people sometimes?
Yes, because people are not prepared. They're not ready. But you have to step up to the plate to get ready and
Yeah.
call someone. It doesn't have to be me. It could be someone else. It could be anyone who you trust and really enjoy spending time with. And people sometimes are just not ready to have that conversation. Sometimes their spouse is forcing them because they're not happy at work, but they feel lost. They don't know what to do, and they don't know how to plan for this. I mean, imagine trying to fix your own engine in your car. Imagine trying to do that.
I
Like,
was trying to
why?
find it.
Yeah, right. How do I get the hood open? Like, let alone
Right.
like fix your engine. Like, why would you do that? The same is true for your retirement. Like, I just had my appendix taken out. Like, why would I take my own appendix out? It would never happen. Never ever happen. You have to really find a professional who you really trust
Yeah.
and who you like. Remember, there's plenty of people in the world to work with. If you don't like them, don't work with them. Don't force yourself.
Right.
That's good advice too.
Yeah.
Like, don't force yourself to work with someone if you don't like what they're saying, if you don't like their energy, if they're pushy, walk away. You're not forced to do anything. Just slow
Yeah.
down, do it right. That's why I like to take things super, super slow.
Yeah.
And if people are not a right fit for the practice, I tell them they're not a right fit, because
Yeah.
it's just, if they're really ungrateful people, I don't do well with that.
No, me
I
neither.
really don't do well. You too? Yeah, that drives me crazy. Because I just want people to be happy. And if they're always unhappy, it's a hard no. So you
Yeah.
have to understand boundaries too.
Yeah.
You do that in
Definitely.
all walks of life, business, work, pleasure. Again, no is a sentence.
Yeah, exactly. Doesn't have to be no because it's just no.
No.
Yeah.
Yep.
With a
Exactly.
smile. No,
Yeah.
never
No.
gonna happen. Goodbye.
Yeah. And that's another thing. One of the questions that you asked me earlier is, you don't have to tell people a story anymore. Like, why did you buy that watch? Or why did you buy that boat? Or why did you buy that golf club? I don't know, whatever it is, or the house or a second house.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to. I want what I want. Like, you don't need to make up stories for anyone.
Yeah.
That's something that I had to learn the hard way too, because I always thought I needed to make something up. Even when you do something well, you want to say, oh, well, it didn't go as perfectly planned, but yeah, it was good. Like,
Yeah.
stop doing that to yourself. That's painful right there. That's internal pain.
I
You
know.
know, I wanted to do it. And that's my life.
It's so funny because that I just started this project. I just bought this commercial space and I'm turning it into like a co-working space. And people are like, oh, why are you doing that? And I said, and I just, what's my answer? It just seemed like it would be fun.
That's amazing.
There's nothing, there's really no more to it than that. I just thought, oh, that would be a blast. Let's do it. I mean, it just seemed like it would be fun and interesting and challenging. And so that's why I did it. Like people just look like you're like, you're nuts.
Yeah, that's incredible. Love that.
It's funny. When you were talking about this whole thing about, the clients and as a real estate agent, first of all, when people say to me, why do I need a real estate agent? I'll say, you don't really, but are you the kind of person who would want to defend themselves in a murder trial? Because if you are, you don't need a real estate agent because you're a DIY person. You don't care if you know anything or not. But, if you think you
Exactly.
might not know something about something, then, maybe we could work together, but also about firing people. I mean, so many of us put so much energy into working with someone who is just not, you're never going to make them happy. They're never going to make you happy. It's not a good fit. And it's just so much better just right up front. Say, you know what? I think of it like a, dating profile, like, next.
Right.
Next,
Exactly.
next. You don't have to marry everybody.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, no, that's really wise though. It's definitely you really have hit the nail on the head, and all those things help to enhance your life and make it more joyful and more fun and happier. And you can really love your job because you're not working with a bunch of people who don't appreciate you.
So true. So, so true.
Yeah, absolutely. So Bill, how can people get in touch with you?
A couple of ways. We have what's a good one? Let's start with Diane Money. That's a great one. So you can go
So is
to
that ready? People can use that already?
we are in a beta test right now. So
Ooh,
we
cool.
are the MVP, minimal viable product. I've learned all this new tech lingo that I never thought I would. I could speak a whole new language. It's pretty cool. But you can go to dianemoney.com. That's our landing page. And that's where you could sign up and use the beta test and use it, break it. Tell me what's good. Tell me what's bad, please. Because I want to hear both sides of the feedback.
Cool.
And that's looking like an October, November launch. So that's
Cool.
pretty exciting.
So it's DIANE money.
Yes,
Okay, just like the
exactly.
name, just like your mom's name. Great.
Exactly. Thank you so much. And you could email me at bill@bloomfinancial.us. Yes, .us. God bless America. Or you can go to retireasyouDesire.com and have a website there. All of my books are there for free. You do not need to put in your email. There's no gatekeeper. It's all there for free.
Awesome.
Because I think that's the right way to do things. I don't want to spam email anyone or anything like that. If you want to work with me, I'm here to help. I love creating retirement income plans to help your money last your lifetime. That's really an incredible goal.
Yeah,
But to really free you up from doing those things that you don't love doing and really live a purposeful and passion-filled life. It's very important.
absolutely. I know a lot of people's plan for retirement is just die young because they don't have enough money, right?
Yeah, that's a whole nother issue. It's just
That's not a retirement plan.
no, no, no. Oh boy.
Awesome. Oh, Bill, thank you so much for being with us today. I really enjoyed talking with you. I think that it's just been fun thinking about all the things we can offload and all the things we don't have to think about and all the people we don't have to work with and how we can really set our lives up to be purposeful and passion filled.
That's a great recap in and of itself. That's perfect, Christine. Thank you so much for having me on your incredible show and to your incredible audience.
Awesome. And speaking of incredible audience, thank you, incredible audience, for being here. And please be sure to be here next week when we'll have some other interesting person, maybe not as interesting as Bill, but it's going to be somebody cool. And have a wonderful week.